Well, hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy Tuesday afternoon to be here, and I promise to bring you value in our discussion today. So thank you again for being here. I'm looking, and Linda hasn't shown up yet. Um, we are, I probably should tell you, and I neglected to do this in this morning's webinar, that this is being recorded. So nobody can see you, nobody can see any questions that you might type into the Q&A field. I will frequently, when a question does go into the Q&A field, and again, there are no dumb questions, right? So I will usually restate the question out loud so that everybody knows what the question is and what I'm answering. But at the same time, I just want you to know that your safety and your security is tantamount in our presentation today. Now, of course, as some of you know, Zoom platform is not incredibly secure, but it is the issue is on me, not on you, because it literally is not secure on my side of things. So, but on your side of things, you're fine. I actually had that interesting conversation with the Department of Real Estate. I did a webinar for them, and they used Microsoft Teams. And their position was, again, that Zoom was not secure. And so I thought it was fascinating. And I did a 4-hour presentation for them on the new RPA back last year. So anyway, again, there's Linda. All right, thank you. Now we're complete. We have a complete package. So we are at the Greater San Diego Association of Realtors, and my name is Kevin Burke. And that JD, by the way, after my name, it doesn't stand for juvenile delinquent. It stands for Juris Doctor. So I do have a law degree. I graduated from law school. I was surprised, but I did, and it was a while ago. I was fortunate enough to graduate in the top of my class in real estate transactions. I received the American Jurisprudence Award in real estate transactions. Very proud of that accomplishment. That's a national award. It's a huge thing. So hopefully that means I know what I'm talking about here today. And my passion is to give back. So that's what I'm trying to do. So there's my telephone number. It works. People can call on that. That's fine. Email is usually best. Usually if you send me an email, we can arrange a time that we can get together and chat if it's something that I can help you with. And so I just want to reach out there and let you know that I am available for anything that you might need, real estate related, that you might need. So I do have some credentials that make me qualified to speak about the subject matter. Again, I've been doing real estate since 1979, so it's been a long time, and I've gone through a lot of big changes and things like that. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. I do have a broker's license in several states, and adding more at this point right now. And I do teach continuing education for attorneys at this point at the university. So risk management's my game, obviously on the right-hand side of the screen. And I'm going to add to it that I'm chair next year for the California Association of Realtors Legal Affairs Forum. So I will be doing that as well. So we're probably going to be talking about things that appear to be legal. I'm not a practicing attorney. I just knew my last semester there was just no way I was going to practice. I think they work way harder than we do. We make more money than they do. It just wasn't going to be for me, and real estate's always been my passion, so I stuck with it, and here I am today. So I do a lot of trial work, however, limited to testifying as an expert witness. And remember, the Department of Real Estate says that you may not call yourself an expert unless it's in a title. So, for example, you're certified distressed property expert, the CDPE designation, things like that. I am a court certified expert witness on the following subjects: standard of care for real estate licensees is my specialty, the agent's duties of inspection and disclosure, and then finally the market conditions in San Diego County. Those are my expertise as a court certified expert witness. So conversation today not intended to be a substitute for the advice of your broker, nor for that of your attorney. Please consult with them as appropriate. Okay, so our webinars are intended to be interactive. Please utilize the Q&A button to ask questions or offer input. I do look forward to hearing from you. Your comments and your questions help shape the direction that we end up ultimately taking as we're doing our talk here today. So it's important to me that I help you, and so I won't know if I'm helping you unless I hear from you. So again, the Q&A button down at the bottom, click on that, type in your question. Nobody else can see it, only I can see it. All right. So welcome to your member benefits. That's kind of weird. What did I do there? MLS week. So we are in MLS week. And so today we're going to talk about, we did talk about this morning, the Collaboration Center. I think I had quite a few people in there who will never send an email out of the MLS again. Everything will be Collaboration Center from now on. And again, if you wanted to view any of those webinars, you can go to our YouTube website, and it has I load them all up onto the YouTube website, and I'll load today's webinars there probably later on this afternoon. So I get those up there for you. So Collaboration Center was really cool. Now we're going to talk about FastStats. And I think of all the free things that you're given, now even RPR is not free. RPR, you're paying $5 a year for that. Zip forms, they tell you it's free. It's not. You're paying $35 a year for that in your dues. And so these are programs that have expenses, and so yeah, there's a fee. But FastStats, SDAR is giving that to you as a benefit of membership, so it's a lot of fun. We'll talk about that today. We'll have a good time with that. So MLS open house safety. So a week from now, because we won't be having any classes on or any webinars on Thursday. We will come back on the following Thursday. We will do open house safety in the morning, one of my specialty classes that everybody seems to enjoy. And then in the afternoon, we will do my banner class, which is the how to read a preliminary title report. And on that note, with these sessions, they're all 2 hours in length. And I know SDR is taking a different direction in how they're going to be presenting their education classes. I know there's a large reliance on Tom Ferry right now, and I like Tom. I think he's a great guy. I've heard him speak on numerous occasions. But I'm more the broker practitioner. I'm more the guy that goes out there and I show you how to do things. I show you how to make things work. I show you how to get business. I'm not much of a cheerleader, but I am a bit of a realist when it comes to business. And so each of those are, they get you to the same place. It's just a different way of getting there. So I'm going to be focusing in the future. I'm going to be focusing more on podcasts. So I will be doing short versions of things. So for example, the how to read a preliminary title report, that'll be probably in a couple of different sections. It'll probably be, the first section will be everything about Exhibit A, and then the next podcast will be all about Exhibit B. And speaking of podcasts, I am doing a podcast for the Department of Real Estate. They have honored me and asked me to do a presentation on legal documentation necessary when doing when representing a buyer in a real estate transaction. And so to their credit, I sent them a list of things that really should be used in a real estate transaction, and they came back with our head is spinning. And I'm like, wow, well, that's probably because nobody knows that all this stuff should be given to the buyers. So stay tuned for that. I think I'm taping that on Friday at 1:30 in the afternoon, but they'll probably release it the following week. That I'm going to be doing, excuse me, I'm personally going to be doing live podcasts as well of my own. And I think that the first-time home buyer, interesting comment made by the Department of Real Estate. They said the majority of complaints that they get are from first-time home buyers, and I thought that's really disappointing for our industry, that people, that first-time home buyers are not given the care necessary to elevate their purchase to the value that really should be. I'm disappointed in that. Again, I don't know why that is. I know that I love first-time home buyers. They're my favorite. They tend to be most appreciative of any of our buyers. The buyer that's done 10, 15 transactions, well, some of them have done. I've got one buyer who's did 22 transactions with me, so I guess I made a good impression in the beginning. So anyway, so be aware the podcasts are going to become a big deal for me, and the only way you're going to know about where it is, other than Googling me, is to make sure you're getting my newsletter. My newsletter, by the way, and I'll give you the link in the end, but my newsletter happens to also contain the forms that we are contemplating coming out with in December. So lots of stuff. I always try to stay a couple months ahead of everybody. That way, you get the news firsthand. So thank you for joining us. MLS, FastStats, and understand your housing market. So what is the number one question that you get every day uh, in real estate. And I say that because I get the same questions. It's the number one thing. People who want to start conversations with me, the icebreaker that people want to do with me, they always ask the same question. And that answer, would having the answer make you more confident to answer the question? And I'm going to answer it for you. Would it make you more productive in your chosen profession? And so, how's the market? That is the number one question. I remember I was teaching a class at Miracosta, and it was a 6:30 to 9:30, and I got back towards Del Mar, my home, and I went to the Vons on Del Mar Heights Road in Mango, and I'm in the grocery store at 10:15. There's nobody in the place, right? And so I'm wandering through. Well, it had to be some people in there, right? Otherwise, it's like open season for theft and stuff. But I walked up to the counter. I had my stuff on the counter and grabbing that late night snack and I'm filling with my wallet, and I hear this voice, and they said, "How's the market?" And it's like, I'm looking around. Now, who's that? Well, it turns out it was the cashier standing in front of me. I'd known this guy, Superman. I'd known him probably a decade. I'm wearing my logo shirt, right? I'm no secret, I'm not a secret agent. I let everybody know what I do for a living. And his question was the question that we get all the time: how's the market? And I've really never talked to him about it. I was just, checking out groceries and doing all that kind of, I had nice conversations. A very nice man. And there we go, off I went. It was all about how's the market, because I love questions about the market. And I've gotten away from saying things like it's out of control or it's crazy or things like that. I don't say things like that anymore. I say frequently it's predictable. And given that I'm an expert on market conditions, that's probably a pretty good answer. It's fairly predictable. Okay. And so as I tell people, since I do trial work on that, as I tell people, I have a crystal ball, but the batteries are low. And so, I can tell you what happened in the past. Predicting the future is never, something that is really a certain thing. Who would have thought today that interest rates would be at 7 and 8%, right? After a long period of time at 3%, and your buyer's saying, I'm not buying right now because I'm waiting for the interest rates to go down. And so, that's not going to happen. I don't know how much farther down they can possibly go. It's usually an excuse for not moving forward with action. And then, of course, interest rates go up. They're priced out of the market. They can't buy. And so, these are the constant. I was knocking on doors in the 1980s when the interest rates were at 24%. And I remember knocking on a door, and I asked the woman, what her interest rate was, and she says 24%. And I said, well, they've dropped to 12. And her response to me was, I said, why don't you refinance your house? And she said to me, she says, I don't trust banks. And I said, my response to her was, you did at some point, or you wouldn't have a 24% interest rate. And so I find that the interest rates tend to impact the entry-level housing more than they do the high-end housing. And I think that's terribly unfortunate, because I think what's going on right now is the entry-level housing is suffering, much like it did back in 2003. We had the entry-level housing in 2003 came to a complete stop. And that wasn't because of interest rates. That was because of pricing. The prices had gone out beyond the ability of the entry-level buyer to purchase a home. And so, why is all this relevant? This is all relevant because I'm going to show you tools that are going to help you to see, help you to talk about the market. And then even if you don't, analyze them and figure them all out and do all that kind of stuff, it's still a great conversation starter. It really is. So let's talk about that. How's the market? My favorite subject. The real estate market is quite complex. It really is. And I mentioned in 2003. So that market, we had the hypothetical crash. I don't, San Diego never really experienced it like others did. But in August of 2005, the crash, right? Well, we realized in August of 2005, we thought the market was still doing really, really well. Well, what really happened in 2003, entry level stopped, but the high end continued to go. And so as a result, we weren't paying attention to the low end. We were watching the total numbers and seeing that the high end was consistent. I'm sorry, the market was consistent. Unfortunately, we need that low end. We need that fundamental housing the buyer, the seller at the low end, the entry level, in order to survive. I mean, it's really, really important. Now, we're not in a position of crashing as we did in '03 for a lot of other reasons, and some of those reasons are that people actually have to qualify for the loan today. On that note, VA foreclosures are very rare because the borrower there actually has to qualify. So we see that historically through the years. So anyway, San Diego is a microeconomy. I think you know that. I've been through 4 major shifts in the global economy in my 40 plus years in real estate, none of which ever impacted my production. So I kept doing business. I kept doing 100, 150 transactions a year, only because I just didn't pay any attention to the market. I just worried about my market, what was going on inside of me. And so I didn't compare myself to others. I really don't care. I'm competing internally, as we say. So it is important to differentiate yourself in any market. Why are you the exception? What are you doing to set yourself apart from the rest? What are you doing to lead the pack? Since we know that we're going to that they are going to ask us the question, be prepared for the answer. Okay. And so a lot of times, and in our discussion today, we're going to talk about statistics, what are going on right now in San Diego County. And that's really the question that they're asking. They know that we really, just like they can, predicting the markets, like predicting politics, like predicting the weather. Well, San Diego, you actually can predict the weather. John Coleman, God rest his soul, he was a great weatherman. And he used to say, we tape the weather 6 months in advance in San Diego because it's just the same thing. Not so with our economy, but okay. So I just happen to have the answer right here. And so I'm going to show you how to create your own free branded marketing piece. Let's take a look at member benefit provided to you by your Greater San Diego Association of Realtors. And so let's go ahead. We're going to go to the live cam part of things. I'm going to open up the program here. We're going to go into the MLS. I do want to pull up just really quick FastStats. I want to show you, I'm going to show you how to brand this. And I had not pulled this up earlier and I really needed to do that. So that being said, we'll go back over here to the MLS. Having some interesting issues with my internet today. So, okay. So obviously I go to the San Diego's website. Now, there's a number of ways I can access FastStats from here. One of them is right here on the bottom of the homepage. So, I don't get it. I mean, it's not behind the firewall, right? I mean, do I need it? Look at that. It's not even behind the firewall. I could have logged in, and then I would have also gotten to here, which is the one page. And then I would scroll down to FastStats and I would click on that here. But again, as I've repeatedly said this to people, that it's not behind the firewall, folks. Anybody can get access to this. So there you go. Okay. Trade secret. Everybody knows now that you know. Okay. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to take a look at FastStats. So here's what it actually looks like. It's got 4 parts to it. They used to have a much different presentation for this. Let me see, did they change anything in here? FastStats, there it is. I think it's going to be the same thing. Yeah, okay, that's going to be the same presentation, but they used to have a whole cover page that was really neat. I don't know where it went, but they also took the branding part of it off of there, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So because I actually saved it, which is something I'm prone to do. I just thought it was so good that I saved the branding part of it so that I can show you how to do that. So anyway, here we are. So obviously we're in San Diego County. And I've got 4 tabs over here on the left-hand side, all sends you to a different place. So I have my local market update, I have my monthly indicators, I have my housing supply overview, and I have my lender mediated report. Okay, everybody good so far? We're going to talk first about the local market update. But you can see over here on the right-hand side, we're talking about San Diego County. We don't have an area selected yet. As I hover over the different areas, they turn to red. So obviously, in this case, I'm looking at it in general terms. Here's North Coastal. Here is Central Coastal. So Central Coastal would be more La Jolla South down to Coronado. And North Coastal would be Del Mar up to Oceanside. And then North County Inland would be, Vista, Escondido, all those places. When I get into East County, I'm into Borrego Springs and things like that. Okay, so let's pick it. So I can click on any one of these. Let's click on North Coastal. When I click on North Coastal, I have the ability to drill in even further. And so here I am. I can go down here to Del Mar by clicking on Del Mar, right? Or I could click on any of these other zip codes, and I would be able to pull up the markets in those specific zip codes. And we're talking about the local market update, okay? All right, now I can also, I'm gonna go back here for a second, but I can also go here into select an area, and I can pull up a zip code, specific zip code by an area. And so I always pick on Del Mar. I think I'm going to pick on Carmel Valley this time, only because I think there's a pretty good market in there. Now it's going to be 92130, so it's going to be way up here. Here it is, Carmel Valley. So we'll pick on that one in a minute. But the other thing I wanted to show you was the time period. And the time period can be this month. And I've used this program in trial work. And so I may go back a couple of months. At one point, I had the court approached me about a husband and wife. The wife had passed. And so I was asked to go back in time and figure out the value of the 16 properties that they owned back at a certain point in time. And so I used the RPR for that. I used FastStats program for that. I used obviously the MLS for that. And I was able to pull up the value for each of those homes, the 16 homes that they had. So again, I can do them by time. I'm going to stick with the most recent one for our purposes here. Is everybody with me on this? I want to make sure I don't get ahead of anybody. Okay, all right. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to click on, let's do it this way. I'm going to click on North Coastal. I get all my selections in here. I'm going to go down. Oh, I said I wasn't going to do Del Mar. Okay, I blew that. All right. Anyway, we'll stop that, and then we will go back over here. And so, so they're going to classify, instead of calling Carmel Valley North Coastal, they're going to call it, I guess, North Inland. All right, I get it. So here we go. Here's Carmel Valley. Whoops, question. Sorry, hang on a sec. Chat is disabled. Chat is disabled. Q&A is not. Yeah, because otherwise I was bouncing back and forth between chat and Q&A. So Rachel, are you okay using Q&A? I don't know how to turn chat back on. I think they turned it off a couple of years ago now. So thank you, Rachel. Yes, please. Thank you for your input. That really helps me because sometimes I don't know what you're looking at. Now, in this case, I'm fortunate because I have my other computer going, and the other computer, I can see that I'm on the same screen because, as you probably know, I'll sometimes keep going and then forget to look to make sure you can see what I'm talking about, and then I got to play catch up. So thank you, Rachel. I appreciate that. So let's go here. And again, I said earlier that I wouldn't, call you out by name, but I think the name Rachel, I made the name up. It's not the actual person. That's not true. I'm just kidding. But, obviously I didn't give their full name or anything like that. So it'd be hard for you to know who they were. So, okay. So I'm going to go down here to Carmel Valley, unless you have a different one you want me to do. Rachel, you want me to do a different one? Do you have a zip code in mind since you're interacting with me here? Just tell me a zip code or tell me a city, and I'll pull that one up. Or not. Okay. Anybody? Nope. Okay. Well then, Carmel Valley is wonderful. You know what it is? Thank you for saying that. I love Carmel Valley. I remember when it was North City West. I remember when it was East Del Mar. And they just didn't want to be known as Del Mar, the other Del Mar. So that's where Carmel Valley was actually, the name came from a contest they did in the 6th grade classes in the area, and they had the students name what they thought would be a great name, and they came up with Carmel Valley, and so that's where the name came from. So I'm going to hover over Carmel Valley. Thank you, Rachel. I'm going to click on Carmel Valley, and this is what it's going to do. It's going to pull up a report. You're getting the so apparently I have something set up in here. I'm paying for Adobe Pro 11. I don't want to answer questions at this point. So anyway, so it pulls it up in the browser, which means I don't have to keep switching back and forth to things. I will have to do that, however, to show you how to apply the branding that we're going to talk about here. So here's my Carmel Valley update, and then again, before we go to that, I do want to show you how to apply the brand. And so that being said, I'm going to hit New Share, and I'm going to go to the. I don't want to PDF. I don't want to print it. So this is the branding instruction. And again, I saved this a couple of years ago, and I branded ours. The plus sign is that you can put all your stuff in here, within reason, obviously. The negative to it is that you've got to redo it every time you run a report. So fascinating concept, but they just didn't invest in the program that customizes it to you all the time. So we're going to customize it. You can add your logo to the top right corner of any of the reports. So let's go back for a second. You can see that. Let's go back for a second, and I'm going to pull up the report itself. Here it is. I'm actually going to download it, and I'll download it to the desktop. There it goes, because I want to open it. Shortcut to desktop. Oh, good. OneDrive, start me up. So, okay, so I saved it to the desktop. So I'm now going to open it up on the desktop. I'm going to have to get to the bottom about why this computer is having problems. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to pull up the, please move the screen. This you cannot see. So now we're going to pull it up so that you can see it. Is it in here? Of course not. All right, so scroll back. Desktop. This says that you, all right, stop, go, and I'm going to pull that up. I know you can't see what I'm talking about, but I'm gonna, can you see it now? Oh, look at that. No, you can't see it. Okay, hang on a second. We're gonna pull this up. And so here it is. Okay, so here's the PDF version of the program. And again, let me make that bigger for you, because it could be a little bit difficult to see. I'm going to go large on you here. So as you can see on the right-hand side, they've left you this great big open part. So I'm going to go over to my branding, and there you can see that. Okay, so I use Adobe Acrobat 11 Pro, and I think that's still the most current version. It came out years ago, and here's the link to it. So again, I will send this to you. Just send me an email and just say, would you please send me the link to the software? And then there you go. I don't know if it's a free version now. I know I paid for it one time and I haven't paid for it since. So hopefully I'm not breaking any software issues. So that's just a way to do it. There's also Cute PDF filler, all these other things. And so how do you place an image? And it's pretty simple. You choose tools and then content. Obviously, they're using a Mac computer, but I can use tools and then I can load it. You choose edit the object in the content window. So here are the instructions. So obviously, if you're on an Apple computer or a Mac computer, whichever you call it, here are all the steps that you've got to go through in order to be able to do this. I'm going to scroll down a little bit faster. So you grab the logo you're trying to grab, and then away you go. So the image will appear on your page, and then you can scale it. You can do all kinds of things. So they've just loaded the SDR logo on there. And congratulations. And again, remember to save your document. So we're going to do kind of a similar thing. I'm going to go over to here, and I'm going to edit. And I'm going to want to, the easier way for me is just to click edit right over here. So I'm going to click my edit button. It's going to pop that up. I want to add an image. And then I go in there, and where did I save the 12 years of college down the tubes? You think that would have been ready for this, right? Okay, so here we go. Here's MLS. Here is my FastStats. And then here's the I didn't actually want to do that brand. So maybe I grab our logo. So again, backwards here to us. Can you all see that? Yes, you can see that. So, okay, good. A lot going on in our office, obviously. So I'm going to click on marketing right here, and then I'm going to go down to logos, and then I'm going to click on the most current logo. Let's use the Breck. Is this the right one? Breck logo there. It's going to open the image for me. I'm going to move it. I'm going to put it over here. Now, this is not our current logo, but this is close enough. So then I can just grab this. I can scale it by moving it around this way. I prefer to move it from the corners because then I can make it get larger and not lose the definition of the unit itself. So again, I've added the logo. Now, what I would do if I were you is I would go in and I would add your DRE number. I would add your name as it appears on your license. I would, things like that. That's how I would handle it. Only because I don't think the Department of Real Estate's running around grabbing flyers that you're handing out, but they are clearly first contacts. So I would do it just because. It's the old story of they're probably not going to come after you for that, but if they come after you for other stuff and they see that too, they're just going to add to it. And listen, I've read enough violations and enough cases against real estate agents that I just know I like the DRE. I don't want to mess with these people, okay, because they're pretty good at and they're very knowledgeable about what they do. Anyway, have respect for that. Then when I click on close, obviously, I no longer am able to edit it, but I could always add more information. So again, your contact information, obviously, your name as it appears on your license, your DRE number, and your association with your brokerage firm, because both NAR and NAR Code of Ethics and the Department of Real Estate require that in your marketing pieces. Is everybody good with that? I would carry these around with me in the car, and I don't print 100 of these because they're only good. So you notice that this is September, so they're only good for the month. Okay, they only update monthly. All right, and so I probably carry 5 of them around with me, and I might fold them. They print on 8.5 by 11 paper. I might fold them into a trifold, and again, this is free. And so if my market area, Rachel, like you and I are in Carmel Valley, I would probably print Carmel Valley, and I'm going to tell you what's in the content here. We're going to go deep into this, but I wanted to at least make it clear that this is the kind of thing you carry around. Because what? Because people are going to ask you, how is the market? So let's take a look at that market in Carmel Valley. What was going on in September of this year in the Carmel Valley market? And so obviously it's got the header, it's got all that stuff on it, says Carmel Valley. And I'm going to do this from this page, and we'll go back to the internet version in a minute as we start going through some of the other stuff. But we're going to spend a lot of time on this. But then when we go back and we start doing the other things, we won't have to go into depth in the explanations of these things the way we're going to do now. So in my situation here is the September market. This is a snapshot of what happened in September in 2022. And then in 2023, did it go up? Did it go down? What is the percentage of that change? And then on the right-hand side, we'll review the year to date. And that year to date means from January 1 of 22 to September of 2022. And then same thing for this year. So over here, I'm just doing the month to month. Over here, I'm doing a period of time for each year and how that changed. Okay, so my new listings in 2022, and again, this applies to every zip code. Okay, they'll all have different numbers in here, obviously, but this will apply to the zip code. So 29 new listings in September of 2022. 19 in September of 2023. It went down over a third. Okay, so that's interesting. Less listings. Year to date, there were 346 listings in 2022, And then in 2023, there were 238 listings, down 31%. So fairly consistent. And we know that that was happening. And part of that was that the interest rates were starting to go up at that point, and they're going up really fast. And so, people are, it's not just that they're cutting back, but it's also that they just can't afford it. Remember, a 1 point increase in interest rate costs us 1,000 purchasers, home buyers. It just puts the affordability index out of question for them. And again, that's sad. I believe everybody should be able to own property. Everybody that's willing to work for it, okay, should own property. Maybe I shouldn't qualify that. It's not the current political climate, but okay. But I think everybody should. I believe in home ownership. Pending sales. So in 2022, there were 17 in the month of September. There were 21 in 23 in the September of 23, which was a 23.5% increase. So again, I'd rather look at my year to date. But look at my year to date. My year to date shows 219 up until September of 22, but 167, a big drop. So the numbers actually went up in September to September, but then they went down from corresponding long-term 9-month periods in each of those years, down 23.7%. So those are the pending sales. Well, obviously, since over here the market has the number of new listings has gone way down, and I forgot to mention this morning in Collab Center when I'm looking at my hot sheet that's right up there in the front of the MLS. When I'm looking at that and I'm looking at the total listings, new listings being 10, and then I'm looking at total sales being 15, I gotta figure that I'm not replenishing the listings as fast as they're selling. Okay, so those are numbers that cause me great concern. All right, and I think that's part of one of the reasons why we haven't experienced a leveling of the market, although the interest rates going up and the impact they're having on those entry-level home buyers is having an effect on that. Okay, so when I look at my closed sales, I've got 16 in September of 22, but I have almost the same number in September of 23, but only down 6%. Because the numbers are so small, the percentages look bigger. And then the year to date for 22, 218, but poof, way down again to 154 in 23, showing me another 29% decrease. Median sales price. Now remember, the newspapers, they always use median sales price because it tends to be a much more volatile number. They tend not to use the mean sales price. So the median sales price means 50% above, 50% below. The mean sales price is also known as the average sales price, where we take the total dollar amount of all the sales and then divide it by the number of sales to get the average. And those numbers tend to be a little softer, and they don't sell newspapers quite so well. So if you like reading the hysteria, keep quoting median. So I remember Greg Smith, who was our county assessor. I really liked him, funny guy. And I remember being in a talk with him, and I was doing a talk with him and Alan Nevin and Greg Seaman and one other person, Bruce Norris, California Countdown guy. And the 5 of us were up there as a panel. And I remember Greg gets up when he shows the newspaper and he goes, the headline on the newspaper says, foreclosures quadruple in California, in San Diego. And he says, if you read the article, they're all timeshares. So, really at that point, we weren't seeing this kind of a problem. So, interesting concept. Again, I like to listen to the authority on these things and not just necessarily read the paper. So my median sales price in Carmel Valley now, which, how many of us remember before we broke $1 million? I remember when you could buy a home over there for $300,000. And then finally one day we broke $1 million. I remember the agent that had that listing. And so everybody was really shocked. But look at this, my median sales price in September of 22 was $2.367 million. My median sales price in September of 23 went up. So the prices were going up, okay, at least September to September, comparing Septembers. My year-to-date in median sales price was 2.41%, so a little bit higher for the previous year, and then 2.252%, so a little bit lower in 23, down 6.6%. So prices dropping, or does that mean that there are less sales at the higher end, there are more sales at the lower end, which are making it look like that market is dropping? So again, have all these, these facts in your head. You don't have to memorize them, you just have to know the concepts. So again, just because the prices are going down doesn't mean that prices are going down. It just means more houses are selling in the lower end than they were before. The higher end was selling before. Okay. Percentage of list price received. So 2022, great year, right? 91.7% of asking, right? Oh, but look at September 23, 99.6% of asking. And if I look at the year to date in 22, I see that properties were selling above asking price at 104.3%. So I guess that kind of messes up the September of 22 number that says that they were selling for 104%. But then in 23, over the same equivalent period of time, we saw almost a 6% drop, so that they're selling at 98.1%. Now remember, folks, the average market time according to NAR is 96 days. So if you know your statistics, we are clueless, right? We have no idea what's going on in the rest of the world. And we're going to talk about that here in a minute. So days on market, look at this. Carmel Valley, 45 days in 2022. Boy, things are heating up in 2023. There are 19 days on the market. So I don't know, should that be a negative number? I think we're going to say it's a negative number because it's a lower number, but this says that it was taking 45 days to sell a house, and then in 23, it only took 19 days to sell a house. Now who does that benefit, the buyer or the seller? And I think that's going to benefit the seller, right? It's the buyer who's again having to step up and do things in a hurry in order to get the property that they want. Then I've got my year to date, and again, I've got 18 days on the market in that year. But then overall, I had 31 days. Again, another 13 days, right? So does that make for a bad market? I don't know. It's a 72% increase in the number of days on the market. Folks, we're still at 31. We're not even near the national average. Okay. All right. And then my inventory of homes for sale. So I've got 62 months, 62 homes for sale in 2022. I've got 87 homes for sale in 2023. So I have more homes for sale in 23. But then my month supply of inventory, so 2.5. What that means is that if we completely stop taking listings, we will last another 2.5 months, and then we're out of homes. Okay. All right. And then in September of this year, 4.9. So almost 5 months. So almost double, 96% increase. So if we completely stop taking all listings, we're going to last for barely 5 months. Okay. Does that make sense? All right. So let's go forward. I'm going to go down into townhouses and condos. So now that we've understood the concept, we're going to see the same kind of thing. So we'll go through this just a little bit faster. Okay. So again, my condo listings, 16 of them in 22, 9 of them in 23. So for a 43% drop, again, 16 to 9. Okay, roughly the same. And then 230 new listings in the year, but then down to 132 listings for a 42% loss over the year to date. Again, who is that benefiting, right? When I see the number of listings coming down, I know that I remember that old Phillips curve thing, the supply and demand thing that says that I have no supply, and we're seeing that even still today, right? I mean, we have no supply, and so the demand continues to be high, and essentially, even with the news media saying all these people are leaving California and all that kind of stuff, for some reason, maybe they're leaving and not selling their homes. Maybe they're just turning them into rentals. I mean, I don't know. So my pending sales remain the same, 14 and 14. Again, notice here, I have 16 new listings, but 14 sales. That's off by 2, which means that that almost as many properties that came on the market went off the market, almost even. And then here, more properties went off the market than came on the market. That's the scary part, is looking at the data this way. Over here, I see a 42% decrease of new listings, but then I also see a corresponding number of sales. I'm looking at my year to date. I've got 132 new listings. I had 123 pending sales, which tells me I'm off by 9 properties to where we would have sold exactly the same number of properties that came on the market. Is everybody good with that? Again, remember, statistics are made to be manipulated. If you understand how they work, you can use them to your benefit at almost any occasion. So, and I say that in a positive way. So you got to keep your head about you. Don't just take for granted what other people are saying, including me. Closed sales. So in 22, I had 9. In 23, I had 14. So I've sold more homes in 23 than I did in September of 9, up 55%. But then year to year, I had 156 closed sales, but in 23, I only had 112. So again, but I'm looking at I'm going up on the numbers here too. I'm also looking at what my new listings and my pending sales, and I'm realizing they're really close to that closed sale number. Okay, median sales price up 21% for townhouses and condos. Year to date between the 2 years, up 0.7%. That's the median sales price. Percentage of original list price received. So again, same thing we saw on houses, 94%, very close. What was it in housing? It was 91%, I think. Was it 91? Pretty sure it was 91%. Let's see if we get up there without, yep, 91.7%. And then my I'm at 100.8% in September of 23, and then again 104%. I mean, even more for the first 3 quarters of 22, but over 100.2% in the first 3 quarters of 23. So I'm getting what I'm asking for the property. Okay, so I think that's to credit the real estate agent who is pricing, getting the seller to be reasonable about pricing the property properly so that you can sell it, and again, for pretty close to asking price. Okay, so let's excuse me. Let's take a look at my days on the market. 31 days in 22, 23 days in 23. So the negative number is like, well, that's not what I'm looking at. The fact that that means that they're staying on the market for less time by almost a quarter, which is not good for the buyer. Okay, despite the fact that interest rates are going up. Year to year, 22 days versus 37 days the following year, so up a full 68%. And then my inventory, I've got 36 homes in 22, 21 homes in 23. But my month supply, look at this, numbers are way down on townhouses, below what they were up here for houses. Okay, all right. And then if you like charts and graphs, and these are the kinds of things I like to show my engineers the charts, but then I show everybody else the graphs, and the graphs show some interesting numbers. I've got my single family homes over here. The red line pretty static, continuing to go up for the median sales price. Carmel Valley specifically a higher appreciation, but then a spike, and then heading back up again. And roughly the same holds true under the townhouses and the condos. Okay, all right, okay, and that's Carmel Valley, and I wanted to show you that. I think that, and again, I'm always looking back. Make sure put your logo up there. Seriously, I will send this to you, no charge. It's free. I'm sharing. I don't know why they took it off of the website. It didn't. I just don't understand that. So let's go ahead. I'm going to take us back now to the live part of things. And again, here we were in Carmel Valley, and we've already gone through all that, which is going to make it easier for us. I'm not going to go through every single area for my local market update. Okay, so especially because we're an hour into this already. Anybody have any questions about anything? Anybody need me to go over anything? The rest of this is going to go really fast. Drinking a lot of water. Good for you. Okay, all right. So that pretty much, I could click on Carmel Valley, or I could click on View Report. I get to the same place. Makes it look like a lot of really cool things are going on. Okay. All right, so but let's cover some other stuff. I want to talk about my monthly indicators. And the monthly indicators, again, are going to be for San Diego. They're just not going to go to the time and the energy to drill into each individual zip code. So so my most recent time period, and this is an overview of key real estate trends. I can come over here, I can click on the map, or I can just click on view the report. Okay, so let's take a look at the report. Make sure you can see it. I think I get rid of some of these things. Maybe time to run a disk defrag. Okay, so we're going to take a look at, let me see, make this get bigger for you so you can see it. Can you see that? Oh yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, okay. So we're gonna take a look at the monthly indicators. And again, this is the monthly indicators as seen in September of this year. I get a regular monthly report of the bigger picture, and I would like to thank the people that give them to me, but I'm not sure that they would like that. But anyway, I get a bigger report for all this for San Diego County. There's some really interesting information out there. So let's take a look. Whoops, went too far. Let's take me back here to September 23. Now there's a narrative here on the left-hand side, and it's a pretty good one. National sales of existing homes fell to a 7-month low. Okay, 7 months, folks. That's a half a year. As surging borrowing costs, rising sales prices, and limited inventory continue to keep many would-be buyers out of the market. Buyers have become increasingly sensitive to fluctuations in mortgage rates, sensitive because they can't afford, they, again, 1 point, we lose 1,000 of them, right? And they've remained above 7% since mid-August. Fewer buyers able to afford the cost of home ownership. Existing home sales declined 0.7% month over month, and we're down 15% year over year, okay? So the narrative part, if you don't understand, what the statistics over here are, the narrative part can be very, very helpful. I would say before you're sitting in front of the client, glance through this really quick, because then they're going to ask you about what's on the right-hand side because it's a fast summary, but you're going to know what the real situation is because you read the narrative. Closed sales decreased 30%, so a third less sales for detached homes, right? Pending sales decreased 14% for detached homes. Inventory increased 7%. So we had a little bit of an uptick in inventory. This is in the month of September. The median sales price was up to 10% to $999,000 for detached homes. And again, roughly the same number, $660,000 for attached homes. Days on the market decreased. So time period is decreasing, right? So 18%, almost 19%. Supply increased 45% for detached homes. Is everybody okay with that? So prices, and again, I'm not going to read all of these to you. I just want to get through this so that you can use that information for later. But prices have continued to increase this fall despite softening home sales nationwide. Now, this is a nationwide issue. It's not just San Diego. Lack of inventory kept the market competitive for prospective buyers, sparking bidding wars and causing homes to sell. I don't know. Interestingly enough, we have a listing that's in the $400,000 price range. Dead, like nothing happening in there. But everything we're touching from $1.2 million to $1.8 million is 5 and 6 offers. So it's just kind of crazy the way that's working out. That high end, everybody's focusing on that. Prices have continued to increase. Let's see here, lack of inventory, bidding wars causing homes to sell for above asking price in some areas. Heading into September, there were only 1.2 million units nationwide, which was almost 1% fewer than a month ago and 14% fewer than the same period from last year. As a result, the U.S. median existing home sales price rose 3.9% year over year to $407,000. So, we're clueless. We're at $1 million. Okay. All right. So the third consecutive month of sales prices topped 400,000 and probably going to stay that way for a while. So again, my monthly snapshot, 1 year change in closed sales down 28%, 1 year change in median sales price up 6, almost 7%, 1 year change in homes for sales up 10%. So we got more homes coming on the market overall in San Diego. We're seeing the housing prices go up, but the closing sales have gone down. Okay. And then again, the market overview, these are the pages of this report. So, so let's take a look at this briefly. We're going to start off with the detached market overview. and I'm gonna have to speed it up a little bit because I don't want to run out of time, but we'll probably get done a couple minutes early. New listings. So here's my great little graphs. I like my graphs, right? So there are my graphs. So I'm looking at my new homes 2021. Here they are. They peak up in March of 22, and then they drop significantly, and then they do a little attempt to come back, and now here we are, roughly where we were in that looks like December of 22. So 9/22, so September of 22, we had 1,951 new listings, and again, this is the overall market. The same time in September of this year, we were down 30%, almost 31%. New listings, 21,200 new listings in 22, only 13,000 in 23, down 35%. Okay, so again, pending sales. So let's look at the numbers, and I'm going to get off the graph for a second. But if I'm looking at my numbers, my percentage change in pending sales in the same month from one year to the next, down 14%. But if I do the year to date, I'm down 22.9%. That's pending sales. Closed sales down 30%. Year to date in both years down 27%, fairly consistent. Median sales price up 10% in the 1 month, but then year to date up only 0.5%. And then we see our average sales price. So the median sales price, again, remember, is different than the mean sales price. So the median sales price was 50% above, 50% below. My average sales price is I add all of the numbers up and then divide by the number of transactions. I'm up 16.8% in the 1 month, but I'm only up 1.6% year to date. Volume down 18%. Year to date down 26%. Again, my percentage of original price received, we're talking about all of San Diego County now, percentage of original price received down, up 4%, but year to date down 2.7. Days on the market, look at this, big drop. Days on the market, again, makes the rest of these numbers look kind of weird, right? Because you're thinking that maybe, everything is down, but the days on the market is also way down, which is going to contribute to the fact that the people are still, chomping these up, okay? All right, and then year to date, up 34%. So, obviously some differences in the month of September. Housing affordability, something that I look at. Housing affordability, the index is at 30% of the people can afford to buy a home. And by the way, housing affordability is figured on a number of factors. It's figured on the purchasing the median sales price home, whatever that is, with 20% down, and you have to have income to support it. And so that means only 30% of our people can afford to buy the median priced home. Given those conditions. In September of this year, 26%. So housing affordability dropping again. I remember being interviewed by Fox News back in 2001 when I was president of another association, and our median sales price had dropped to, at that point, 26%. Strangely enough, the same numbers. And so I was asked, whether it could get any worse in San Diego, and I pointed to San Francisco that was at 19%. And so I said, yeah, it can get worse. Today, San Francisco is, I don't even think it's in the double digits. So, be aware it can get worse. But again, that's my housing affordability. And so inventory of homes for sale up 7%. In San Diego County, and then the month supply up 45%, thankfully from a 2-month supply to 2.9 month supply, which is really, we need more supply. So get out there, get more listings, okay? Attached, similar kinds of numbers. I don't want to go through all these individually because I'm trying to get you out of here a little bit early today. But the numbers for detached are always going to be different than attached. The attached units, which is what these are going to be the also ran, as I call it. People are going to buy detached first if they can, and if not, then they'll swing over to the detached or to the attached. So the numbers are typically going to be lower on the attached units. So, and here what I want to look at is I'm seeing my month supply of inventory at 1.6% in September of last year and 2.5% in September of this year, showing almost a doubling of the amount of homes, which is fairly good news, right? Okay, so a doubling of the month supply of inventory, the inventory of homes for sale up 17%. That's good news too. Okay, and then look at my housing affordability. More people can afford to buy the attached homes than can afford to buy the detached homes. When I get into my new listings, again, interesting numbers. My detached have been declining. This is 21, this is 22, this is 23. Attached 21, 22, 23, and then here's my year to date. So for those people like those bar graphs, that's going to make them all happy. So historical new listings by month, always an interesting graph. So I don't know, do they reset everything at 0 at the the end of the month? I don't know, but that's where they come up with it. Again, detached, more new detached listings than attached listings. Pending sales. When I look at my pending sales, I do see also significant decreases generally overall. And again, a similar type of graph that I can't explain. I have no idea what that means. Closed sales, same thing. Our numbers are generally down in San Diego County for the numbers of closed transactions. But again, remember, I'm comparing new listings to closed sales. And as long as I have more new listings than I have closed sales, I'm a pretty happy guy. Okay, again, here we go. Median sales price again, point at which half of sales sold for more and half sold for less. So I said 50% above, 50% below, same thing, not accounting for seller concessions. We see more seller concessions today than we did before. We just closed a transaction where the seller's putting new TV sets in the house because they took off of the old ones. I mean, it could be by accident. The packers pack things, they just grab everything. So my median sales price going up. So remember, my sales going down, my price is going up. That means more properties are selling. So since my numbers are down for units, that means in order for me to show a median sales price increase, I have to have something to overcome that decrease in the number of actual sales. So it's kind of almost counterintuitive. And then I look at my historical median sales price by month, and very interesting numbers. And we saw a little bit of a glitch right here in May of 22. And I'm not sure. I think that was when they did a price hike on the interest rate. I'm trying to think of what other event might have triggered that. My average sales price, so I take all of the prices and add them together and divide by the total number of sales, and I can see those numbers are up as well. Okay, so those are pretty sustainable numbers at this point, and then a pretty reasonably looking graph that looks almost the same as the one we just looked at a minute ago. My dollar volume of closed sales in millions, again, in September, dollar volume down in both attached and detached. And then here's my graph on that. And then percent of original list price received, again, fairly consistent. You're not going to see a 60 in here, right? But you're also not going to see 130. But you are going to see some 101, some 103s, a couple of 103s. So you're going to see them where sales prices are exceeding asking prices. And again, my hat is off to the real estate agents for keeping the seller to be realistic. Because I know how difficult that is. When I go on a listing, I rarely ever get an argument from the seller. They always do what I tell them to do, so to speak, after consulting with me, of course. But I find that when sellers overprice their homes, they end up having to sell them for less than they could have gotten if they had priced them right to begin with. And that's always my shtick with the seller when I take a listing. Okay, that being said. There's my graph on historical percent of original list price received by month. And again, with the highest being in May of 22. Interestingly enough, right? Because we saw that big dip earlier on the numbers of sales. So, but they're getting more for their houses, closer to asking price. Days on the market until sale. Again, notice that in September we had of the detached homes in 22, days on market was up 52%. Well, here we are dropping again, which tells me that our numbers of days on the market is decreasing again. And so that's not a good sign for the buyer, maybe a great sign for the seller, but I think it also has a corresponding hit to the seller in that they have to be more reasonable in their pricing. And so here we go. Look at this. This is ugly, right? Just essentially downward spiral on numbers of days on market. Again, a bad news for my buyer, but great news for my seller. They get paid pretty quickly. And if you're the seller's agent, you're buying the ATV, you're buying the mobile home, whatever you're going to get. A housing affordability index, which is the number I worry about, how many people can actually afford to buy a home. And we can see that in September, detached, the housing affordability just decreased from 17% in 21 to 13% in 23. And then my attached units, which will always be more affordable because there'll be lower price ranges, those are 67 in 21 to 40 in 23. And so when I look at that graph, my historical housing affordability index by month, so housing affordability is going down, which again means that people are not able to buy the median price home. And so, at some point we become a state full of renters. And that doesn't mean a negative thing necessarily, but there's obviously political moves taking advantage of that right now. So inventory of homes for sale. So again, numbers going up, which is a good thing. That we have more houses on the market than we have had, up only 17%. We were down 46% in 21. And then we were down 21.9% on the detached homes in 21. And so fortunately, the inventory has been increasing. So we're seeing that in the graph here versus, we had great inventory in 2016, 2017, 2018. And then the bottom came right out of everything. And in 2020, those numbers are off. No, that's right, 2020. Yeah, and so we've consistently been lower than they were since 2013. So inventory of homes for sale per month. My month supply of inventory, how long before I run out of listings completely? Fortunately, thankfully, those numbers are going up. I can see there was a nasty decline in 21, September of 21 for both detached and attached homes. But then we've been recovering gracefully to a point where 23 is high for both the detached and the attached homes, which is a good sign for our economy. But then there's that same similar looking graph to what we saw a minute ago. But again, here we go. Roller coasters going back up again. Okay. All right. That being said, total market overview. So again, what's happening generally over the market. And I think you can read these numbers as well as I can. New listings, let's just look at the year to date. So new listings are down 33% year to date, down from what they were the previous year. The pending sales down 22%. So again, of course, we have less new listings. And then closed sales down 26%, right? Because we have less inventory. Median sales price ticking up 1.2%. My average sales price ticking up 1.5%. That's what I told you before. It's a less volatile number. Dollar volume down of closed sales down 25%. Percentage of original price received down 2.9%. So not bad considering it was at 102.8% in 20 year to date in 22. So days on market up 38%. That's a good sign for our buyers that are out there. Days on market is increasing, which means the pressure is less. Doesn't necessarily mean it's off. Affordability index, unfortunately, because prices have been going up, the affordability index is down 6%. Month supply of inventory down here at the bottom, 1.8, we're up to 2.8, so we've almost doubled those numbers. So that's fairly encouraging for me when I look at that. All right, so let's take a look at let's go back to our screen here. So we covered the local market updates, we covered the monthly indicators. Now I want to look at the housing supply overview, and then I'm going to get into my favorite, which is the lender mediated report. You know, those situations where lenders were involved in the decision to sell. We talk about REOs, talk about short sales, talk about things like that. They're coming back. So any questions so far? Like I said, I think this is fairly easy, but I think if you get a run through of it really quick, I think it makes it easier for you to explain it later, knowing that you clearly have support on your conversation there. So I'm going to view the report, monitor San Diego's housing supply, and that's going to pop up, hopefully, he says with confidence. Let's go ahead and expand this a little bit. And so again, housing supply overview in general. So the sales decreased 8.7% month over month to seasonally adjusted annual rate of 675,000. I don't know why we say seasonally adjusted. Our market, San Diego, used to be cyclical. It used to be that we knew that, you know, if you didn't have it sold in October, November, December, you were just sitting dead in the water. And correspondingly, you know, we knew that the spring was always the best time. I think those numbers have gone away. I think just any time is a good time now. It's very different for us now than it was before. So I don't know if I would use the word seasonally adjusted. That's true in other parts of the country. In Chicago, for example, they have a different market in December than they have in May. So for obvious reasons, because there's this little thing called snow. It was the slowest pace since March. Higher mortgage interest rates clearly taking their toll. Number of the buyers are choosing to postpone their home purchase until rates move lower. That is always the story. Okay, so rates move lower. Well, you're right. Now they can come down from 7, right? But when we were at 3, why weren't you buying? I mean, how many people do you know that said, I want to wait till it goes down below 3? And it's like, you know, you blew it. I mean, time they're double that today. Okay, so with sales softening, builder confidence has also declined, although I get calls from people who are saying that new home developers are not co-broking on certain properties, things like that. We always find that to be a fair weather friend kind of thing, you know, is if they don't need us, they don't pay us. If they do need us, they do pay us, that kind of thing. Builder confidence dropped 5 points to 45. Don't see anything else in there significant. Overall median sales price was up 1.9%. Property type with the greatest gain, of course, was single family homes. They can afford it, they will buy it, right? Prices increased 2.4%. This is an interesting statistic. The price range that sold the quickest was the $1 million to $1,250,000, as I said to you earlier, right? Not the 300 and the 400, strangely enough. The price range that tended to sell the slowest was 5 million and above, and again, where $1 million to $1,250,000 was 29 days, the 5 million and above is 68 days. Literally, just a little more than twice as much time, which is really it's kind of scary that that's all it took. Inventory levels were up 10%. Property type of the largest was the condos, of course, where they increased 17%. That's a 2.9 month supply for single family and 2.5 month supply for condos. And so over here on my right hand side, price range, again, it just restates it. Price range is the strongest. Price range with strongest pending sales is 5 million and above, but it tended to sell the slowest, so down 12.5%. Home size down 21.9%. That home size with the strongest pending sales is 3,000 to 4,000 square feet. And the property type with the strongest pending sales is still the condos and townhouses, down 27.6%. Everybody good with that? Okay. Pending sales, again, just a restatement of what we just looked at. Here's all my numbers by price range, by square footage. all properties. So this is an interesting statistic. Again, if you are printing these, again, I would print one that you find to be the most popular. I'd probably focus on your zip code if you're, farming an area or doing something like that. But obviously, these give us really good numbers to compare to the rest of San Diego County. My closed sales, obviously, the 500 to 750 had in September of 22 had 10,000 sales, and at that same time the 5 million above had only 284 sales. Square footage, obviously you do the math on that. Scrolling down, my median sales price by square foot versus by property type, you can see the numbers on that. Oops, I'm sorry, they had a good explanation in here. Point at which half of sales sold for more and half sold for less based on a rolling 12-month median. Okay. Percent of original list price received. Again, this is all of San Diego County. And so based on price range, what was the percentage of list price received? And so, so it looks like only the 250 and below had a positive number in it in September of 22. There were a handful of but I'm just generally down 3.4%, down 2.6% as I go up in price range. And then by square footage, if you're tracking that, then that's going to be interesting as well. Days on the market until sale, certainly a number that I look at. And I can see that in my various price ranges, 250 and below on the market for 65 days this September, but fairly consistently in the 30 percentile in the price ranges until I get to 5 million and above, and then it jumps up to 68 days on the market. Okay. Inventory of homes for sale. Again, number of properties available for sale and active status at the end of a given month based on 1 month of activity. And again, by price range, this is my inventory. So again, the bar charts that you're seeing are just a result of the numbers that are produced in the columns below. This is my month supply of inventory. Obviously, 5 million and above, I've got more than 14 months inventory, so well over a year. But if I'm selling that $1 million home, then my inventory is a 1.9% last year, 2.8 this year, month supply of inventory. Okay, and then that's it. That's it for that. Okay, so let's get that off the page. Might even be able to get you out of here a half an hour early. Let's take a look at that. So let's take a look at my lender mediated report, and that's this one right here. So lender mediated report, compare traditional sales to REOs and short sales. So now an REO sale is a real estate owned. That's where the bank already owns the property. A short sale is going to be a property that is for sale for less than the encumbrances against it. And so I got asked that question by a broker yesterday, if I would help them in short sales. I'm more than happy to help people with short sales. We do a lot of them ourselves. We have a bankruptcy attorney in our office who is a practicing broker. And so he gets a number of listings that are going to be short. For obvious reasons. So again, you want to be very careful when you're working with a short sale. And I'm going to tell you why. There's this Civil Code 1695 that most people don't know about. And Civil Code 1965 is known as the Home Equity Sales Contract Law. And what that law says is it says that if four prongs are present, so if the property is a residential 1 to 4, which I suspect it is, the owner is living in the property, the buyer is not going to live in the property, and then the fourth prong is a notice of default has been filed against the property. If all 4 of those prongs are present, it is actually a crime to write the offer. You have to give the seller notice of their statutory 5-day right to rescind the contract. Now we have a form for that, so you don't use the RPA if all all four are present, you don't use the RPA, you use the NODPA. That's the Notice of Default Purchase Agreement. And that's actually a much longer form than the 16 pages that you're using now. But really the only difference is you've got a DLT in the beginning. That's the Declaration of License that you have to give. And then at the end of it, you've got a couple of pages devoted to the seller hereby cancels kind of thing. They sign it there and send it back to you. They cancel even if they agree to the contract. And that law was put in effect back in the late 70s. People were taking advantage of the little old widow, the husband passes away, the breadwinner, that kind of thing, and they have a $29,000 mortgage. These are the average numbers. $29,000 mortgage. The property's worth probably $78,000. So the investor comes in and buys it for the loan amount, and essentially the person that sold them the property loses out on $50,000. So very bad situation. So the legislative body, their intent was to fix that problem at that time. I'm not sure we have that problem today, but the law is still on the books. So if any one of those four prongs is not present, then the rule doesn't apply. Just go ahead and do the RPA. So it's kind of in your head. You're showing 1 to 4, so that you have that already. But if your buyer is going to live in the property, then you really don't need to worry about it. Because it won't matter because as long as the buyer's going to live in it, that's the third of 4 prongs. And if they're going to live in the property, then it defeats the purpose of the equity purchaser, which is that person that's buying it and not going to live in it. So that's kind of good news there. But again, watch out for the trouble spots. So for example, I had a case in San Clemente where newlywed couple were buying the house. It was a single family home. The owner was living in the home. They were going to buy the home with the intent to live in the home. There was a notice of default filed against, but because they were going to live in the home, the rule didn't apply. So not a problem. They did the RPA, just regular as normal. Lender comes back later on and says you don't qualify for the loan. So they got dad to co-make on the loan. And so dad gets involved in the purchase. Seller sues dad. These cases never make it to court because most everybody pleads out. But dad was just kind of, didn't know it. I don't think the agents were aware of the law. And so as a result, it costs the dad a lot of money to stay out of jail. The penalty, by the way, is a year in jail. Because it's a criminal offense, there's $25,000 worth of criminal penalties. So you already know you have no E&O coverage for that because the E&O won't cover you for crime. And then unspecified civil damages. Again, I'm involved in a lot of divorces, none of which I caused, but I'm involved in a lot of divorces where somebody's running around the countryside buying property in California, and I tend to get that phone call from what we used to call the divorce attorney. Now they call them a family law attorney, and they call me up and say, "What was that civil code again?" I remember having lunch with an attorney, a family law attorney, at Jake's restaurant in Del Mar one day, and we got into a conversation about that at lunch. And he called me up after lunch. What was that law again? And so I told them, and they immediately settled the case because it was they didn't want to go to jail. So just be aware of that. So at some point I'll get into the substance of this here. But again, be careful. If you're writing an offer on a property, if you're representing an owner occupant and they're the only ones and they're going to live in it, then I think all the rest of it goes away. But obviously, if they're not going to live in it, then your ears are up. You're looking for that seller living in it. You're looking for that notice of default filed, because those are going to be the other prongs that are going to satisfy that equation. So again, be aware. Know what you're doing. Talk to your broker. Make sure your broker gives you advice. Again, your broker is your broker for a reason, so you need to rely on them. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to click on the view the report again. This is all of San Diego County. So I'm going to click on view report, and it's going to pop up a report for me. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to dig into the numbers here just really quick. I think this if you decide you're going to work these types of properties, you are alone. There are very few people competing with you on these properties. Again, go to my webinar from last week on CRS tax and finding pre-foreclosure properties, because I thought I did a pretty good job of telling you how to go after those pre-foreclosure properties. And I sent you the do not call list Q&As. I sent you all of the short sale fraud Q&As, all that kind of stuff, so that you'd be prepared for that. And again, if you want copies of all that, you can go onto the YouTube website to view the webinar, but you can also send me an email and I will send you all the data behind it. Okay, so here we go, our lender mediated properties report. Look at my inventory. So, starting in 2012, May of 2012. And again, interestingly enough, it was January of 2012 that we saw this huge spike in the market. So in 2009, in my expert opinion, in 2009, we had a leveling of the market that we were losing in August of 05. 7, things were starting to get there. 8, they're pretty good. In 9, we were leveling on the market, but then in 10 and 11, we started to go up. And then January of 12, kaboom. And I couldn't explain it. I mean, I was looking at it going, what is going on? It's like they turned the lights on all of a sudden. I had attorneys calling me and saying, what is going on in the market? And the newspapers are calling me, and it's like, it was just crazy because, it was totally unpredictable. We didn't know why it was happening. We knew what happened in 05. We knew that the SISs and the stated income, stated asset, the liar loans, the no doc loans, what got us into trouble because buyers were essentially fabricating how much they made. They weren't doing it alone, by the way, they were having help. But fabricating how much they made to just get the home, and the lenders were saying, hey, we don't care, the market's going up like crazy, so we're covered. I mean, next month you'll sell it for profit anyway. Well, that all stopped, and that was a surprise to everybody. So likewise, the opposite direction in January of 2012, we start to see these numbers to where our look at the almost 9,000 lender mediated properties, and then there's this looks like a really bad water slide, right? So woof, down, and it's just down and down, a little bit of a spike in 14, and then woof, back down again, and then another rapid drop. If you remember the log water road thing, it's got that thing goes blah, 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 woof, right down, and that's what those are. And so to a point today where we get into 2021, where I think we hit rock bottom on these things, almost no lender mediated properties. We're seeing a little bit of an uptick now as I move my graph over, but look, it's pretty level. I'm getting a little bit more here. It's starting to get to be the numbers that they were back in 2022. According to the bankruptcy attorney that we have in our office, who is a broker associate with Linda's office, he says he's never seen so many, and so they're coming, and so we know we're going to have them, and so start working on that market. There's a really good broker in UTC, La Jolla, arguably, who he said to me once, I'll never forget, he said, I just want to be 3 months ahead. So he's already working this market because he knows this market's coming back. So he's already working that market that nobody else is working. And so prepare for those kinds of things, be good at what you do. So again, that's my lender mediated inventory generally. September of 23, I get into my dialogue on this. And so in September 2023, new listings, now again, we're going to compare new listings totally decreased to 26%. Traditional new listings decreased 26%, almost the same number, but lender mediated listings only decreased 20%. So the lender mediated listings new listings went down less than the other listings did, which meant their numbers stayed consistently closer to the traditional listings. The share of new listings that were lender mediated rose 5.4%, which is consistent with what I just said. Closed sales were down generally 28%, traditional closed sale down 29%, lender mediated closed sales only down 6.2%. So you see that gap getting closer. And so my number says that shares of closed sales that were lender mediated rose to 5.5%. Okay. All right. So they went up to a 5.5% of closed sales. And then finally, my median sales price rose 6.8%. My traditional homes rose 8%. My lender mediated rose only 0.6%. Why? Because people were going to buy squeaky clean brand new before they're going to buy an REO or a short sale. Okay. And I've had more than one agent say to me, I'll never work a short sale. And I say, why not? And they say, well, because it really should be called a long sale. And I said, yeah, but you get a sale and you get to help the homeless, right? You get to help people either become homeless or stop from being homeless. And so, they just don't understand my sense of humor. But listen, I'm helping everybody, right? I mean, maybe I have the bandwidth, maybe I'm just charming, I don't know, but I'm helping everybody. I want to help those people, but my lender mediated sales prices only went up less than a half or almost a half a point, while the rest of the market went up 8%. Because people just weren't focusing on those REOs. That'd be where the money would be. Again, lender mediated is short sales as well. Okay, I think short sales. I don't think there's as much difficulty as you think they are. Remember, your buyer's lender does all the heavy lifting as far as getting the loan anyway. And remember, if you were going to negotiate a short sale, and I have a whole thing for you on what the short sale negotiators can do. CAR calls them the SSNs. What they can actually do. Remember, you have the ability to negotiate with the lender based on your real estate license, to negotiate with the lender on the sale, not negotiate the loan. So you may not get into the weeds on the loan, specifically a loan modification or anything like that. You may not do that. That's against the law. I saw 16 attorneys get indicted for when they came down with that decision back in when was that? I remember I was management in 2009, and I remember 16 attorneys were indicted for for loan modifications. You can do the short sale, you just cannot modify the loan, cannot touch the loan. So a property is considered to be lender mediated when properties. Wow, that's a better picture over there. There it is here. Those marked in the MLS with the following: call agent, court approval required, restricted program, estate, HAP, HUD, NOD. So they ran a bunch of key terms, and they came up with their decision on how many that there were. Residential only, of course. The commercial market is very different. Total market is not necessarily a sum of traditional and lender mediated activity, as some lender mediated homes can be listed. Let's see, what does that say? Listed both as, went too far, foreclosure and a short sale. On that note, remember the lender is not allowed to dual track, which means if they're discussing a short sale with you, they cannot also be working the foreclosure. So be aware of that. Okay. So my lender mediated properties report, I've got where's the inventory of homes for sale. So my lender mediated single families down 12%, but my condos, townhomes up 50%. And this is in September of this year versus last year. So way up from last year for condos and townhomes. My traditional homes up 8.3%. This is the inventory. My condos up 15%. So going over to the general numbers, the share of lender, let's just look at that share of lender mediated activity. Again, single family homes in September of last year, 6.1%, townhomes and condos, 4.6%, but this year down to 5%, but up 5.8 on my townhomes and condos. Okay. All right, let's take a look. Oh, you know what? I have control of that. There we go. Couldn't figure out why I could get that all to fit on space. Lender mediated property by report, by property type again. Single family homes dropped. Condos, townhouses went up. All properties essentially up 3.3%. And then my lender mediated inventory by price range, nothing below 250,000. Where are you going to find 250,000? And then down 3%, almost 4%, up to 500. Down 16% up to 750. Down 9.7% up to $1 million. Those are those numbers. Lender mediated properties report. Again, new listings and closed sales. So we're going to compare our lender-mediated transactions with our traditional transaction, give you the total market, and then give you the share of lender-mediated activity, again, up on listings, up on closed sales on both. Okay, and there's my crazy spike again. Historical closed sales activity, lender mediated properties report. So here we've got our median sales prices. Who did I lose here? I lost Linda a while ago. Thank you for hanging in there, everybody. Let's see. So my median sales price again, I look at my market is up 10% for the pricing on these homes, on these short homes. And then days on the market, again, on lender mediated is down. So 16%. It's up 19 for condos and townhomes. Overall total market down 18%, down 20% for condos and townhomes. Speeding right along here, my inventory and closed sales by area. This would be great if you're representing investors. If I'm holding an open house, I'm probably going to have this report at the open house if I'm in an area that has a higher than normal number of lender mediated properties. So this is the tough graph. So inventory and closed sales by area. And so they do them by the zip codes that we saw earlier. So total inventory for September, closed sales for October through September. So my total market, my lender mediated market, what is their share? So I'm going to go down here. What did we say earlier, Rachel? We said Carmel Valley. So there's Del Mar. So Del Mar, my hometown, 3 properties. Their share is 1.9%. The traditional market has 155 homes in the entire Del Mar area. So let's take a look. I go a little bit further down here because they're in order by zip code, and we're talking about 92130. And so I'm almost there. Look at that. Carmel Valley. So again, 15 properties in Carmel Valley. Now, again, my CRS tax class last week, that we identified 15 properties. And so again, I think we're missing the boat on this. Look at all these properties. There are a lot of properties that if you look at the total numbers, you could really make a living out of this. Again, be careful what you say. They're not going to answer their phone. Chances are they aren't going to answer their door. So if you watch that webinar, I go through a bunch of ways to get past that shell that, you're really just there to try to help them. Carmel Valley, 15 homes, up it's at 4.3% of the total shares of that market. Okay. Let's see. And then median sales price again. So Del Mar, my median sales price for my lender properties is 2.5, which is 11.9% less than traditional. And then when I go to Carmel Valley, I like the way I'm doing this, is pretty quick. Carmel Valley, my 1.655, which is 6% less than the traditional homes, median sales price homes in the area. Okay, so that's going to take care of that part of things. And then what was the other thing? I think that might be all I was going to show you. I'm going to get you out of here a couple minutes early. Let's go back to my PowerPoint just really fast because I want to make sure that you're all aware of the YouTube website, which I think you are. Again, I'm going to be switching to podcasts. So San Diego doesn't have me doing the numbers of classes I was doing before. And frankly, I have to agree with them. I mean, I was doing a lot of MLS classes. I think they believe staff can do those. I'm good with that. I don't have a problem with that. I just happen to know the product fairly well. But I'm going to be switching to shorter snippets. So I'll be doing podcasts. Again, I'm doing podcasts for the Department of Real Estate on Friday on legal documentation for transactions, things like that, which will probably get aired the following Wednesday probably. And then I'm doing my own. I thought, wow, what a great idea. Listen, if they're on it, they're pretty smart people. I figure I'm going to follow that. I'm going to start doing some first-time home buyers, how to work with first-time home buyers, why you get them approved for a loan before you show them property and stuff like that. So anyway, my newsletter will let you know that we're making that transition. Again, obviously, I'm prepared to teach classes. You'll have to get a hold of SDR for that, and let them know that you want them. Education at SDAR is usually the best way to do that. So we have a YouTube website. It's not so new anymore. I created it about 6 months ago, but I've been loading all the videos up there. So get your QR code reader ready. Here it is. Grab you all have one on your phone, right? You've all got a QR code, and I can't set my phone down for 1 minute that I don't have a half a dozen messages. Oh, wait, okay, that's fine. All right. So anyway, there's a QR code. You can also go to @Burke Real Estate Consultants Inc., and that will take you straight to the YouTube website. There's a bit.ly, so the bit.ly/real-estate-ed, short for education. Case is important, so that's why we made it all lowercase. And then please remember to like and subscribe. So again, like it only because it makes me feel good. I very much appreciate it when you do that. It's the only real feedback I get other than your comments in the class here. But then subscribing will notify you when you log into YouTube. It'll notify you that I've uploaded some new material. So again, that'll be a great way if you subscribe. It'll be a great way for you to find out that what I'm doing next. Where's Waldo? I'm going to be doing a series called Muffins with the Mayor. I'm known as the Mayor of Del Mar. It's kind of an unofficial title. I think it's just because I know everybody. But Muffins with the Mayor, and that's something I'll be doing on a regular basis to answer people's questions and do things like that. So they'll be much shorter, half an hour, maybe a little less. I've got the city prosecutor, Huntington Beach prosecutor's office wants to do a podcast with me about a real estate transaction that went very poorly there. I know the Department of Real Estate wants to do, I'll probably have them as special guests. Again, I love the Department of Real Estate. They've got a lot of really good information for us. And then a lot of attorneys. So stay tuned for that. I think it'll be fun. And again, a slightly different change in our business model from the 2-hour webinars, which again, I think were put into place just kind of as a placeholder for me, just to keep me busy. So that kind of thing. So weekly email updates. I send out a broadcast email. I got another one going out, I think Friday. And you got to subscribe. If you don't subscribe, it's not going to go. You're not going to get it. So you have to subscribe. It's opt-in only. Everybody that's on it has opted into it. And then there are things in there like the new forms that are coming out in December. I've already got them in there for you. So you know what they look like. We're looking for comments, that kind of thing. So a lot of timely stuff. My long conversation about the Home Equity Sales Act, I've got a great big long thing in there about that. So lots of relevant information, relevant to our business, stuff to protect you. Again, risk management. I am still on the risk management and the professional standards committees for the California Association of Realtors. I am also, again, I've been on legal affairs for decades. I'm going to be the chair next year. And I am continue to be a member of the risk management committee for the National Association of Realtors. So again, I do look forward to helping you. I want to make sure you're okay. I'm not doing all these things because I like titles. I'm doing all these things because I want to be able to give you information. So are there any other questions, anything about what I've covered here today? Okay, if not, I want to thank you for being here. Again, no classes Thursday, but the following Tuesday we're back. We'll talk about open house safety, and then I forgot already what we're talking about in the afternoon. What was it? I don't remember. Anyway, it'll be a good one. So thank you all for being here today. I wish you the very best. I hope you have a great week. And as we say from my hometown of Del Mar, thank you, Rachel. As we say from my hometown of Del Mar, I look forward to seeing you around the track. Take care, everybody. Be good for now. Bye-bye.